important enough to us as founders and as a brand that like the very first supplier we worked with um, was whole grain milling. They were an organic small grain pioneer um, from back in the early '90s. We were introduced to their product through the Minneapolis has a really awesome natural
Yeah.
food co-op scene. So if you go into the bulk bins in any of the uh, in any of the co-ops, which Hannah like lives in pretty much every day. If she's not at the office or at home, she's at Lakewinds
Yeah.
Co-op if anybody wants to find her. She that's where we found whole grain milling. They were our original supplier of oats, rye, and barley, kind of to those original recipes.
Mm.
And he had what was unique about him, and what I think still really resonates with me today is he has on-farm processing. So he had this unique ability where we could go direct. We were essentially doing direct trade right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Um, and then we outgrew his oats, rye, and barley supply probably in year two. We were kind of moving out of the friend's restaurant kitchen into co-packers, starting to pick up, regional chains like Lunds and Byerly's. Target even came to us early on and did a test. So we're starting to scale, and that's when it really got challenging because I think direct trade works, and just sort of transparency in general, which is needed for all of this regenerative work,
Mhm.
um, is easier in the early days.
Yeah.
And then I think there's also a point at which it becomes a little bit easier once you have scaled, but there's this in between time where, you're ordering a few pallets here and there where it's tricky,
Mhm.
because you're typically having to go through like a distributor or broker, and then you're like another step or two removed from the source, right? So
Right.
um, it was a pretty it was a pretty um, long learning process, on how to unwind that. And one of the bigger challenges that I kind of hinted at, or with Doug's on farm processing, is you have to that intermediary step, like that middle tier milling, like cleaning, deholing, milling,
Mhm.
that's a big barrier, and it needs to be established really before you can do your direct sourcing,
Mhm.
for it to be successful for the grower and for us, right? Because we can't just put. I mean, I'm sure you've had many of these conversations on this podcast already, but that was a thing that we quickly realized, was missing in order to do the things that we needed to do, and that we wanted to move our mission forward. And so, those kind of learnings, if you fast forward to present day, we're really trying to build our direct trade program at scale around specific processors.